They promised me a big surprise for my 50th birthday. But instead, they disappeared. No calls, no messages, just cocktails, beaches, and a photo caption that broke me. Leading up to my 50th birthday, my whole family kept dropping hints like they were sitting on some grand plan. Just wait, they'd say with these little smirks, something big's coming. Every time I'd press my wife for a clue, she'd just flash that smile and tell me to be patient. So when the day finally rolled around, I walked into our house expecting something. Instead, I came home to silence. Empty. No balloons. No note. Not even a missed call. Hours passed, and I started to feel that itch in my gut that something was off. Then I opened my phone and saw it. A picture, posted right there on social media for the whole world to see. My wife, our kids, and the in-laws, all beaming under the sun at some upscale beach resort I didn't even know existed. And the kicker? My son had captioned it, "He won't even notice we're gone LOL. I didn't hit like. Didn't leave a comment. Didn't call. I just sat there, letting that single sentence knock the wind out of me. 3 days later, I was still alone in the house, sitting in the dark at 3:27 a.m., scrolling through sunlit photos of the people I thought were my entire world. My phone started blowing up with WhatsApp messages, 47 of them, back to back, like they all suddenly remembered I existed. That was my 50th birthday. Alone in an empty house. No dinner. No celebration. No family. Just me, a bottle of whiskey, and the growing weight of 25 years of marriage and 2 kids I thought I'd raised right. And this is how it all added up. Not forgotten. No, worse than that, left out on purpose. Let me back up a bit. This whole thing really started about 2 months earlier. That's when I first noticed Sierra, my wife, getting cagey every time the topic of my birthday came up. Not in a mean way, just secretive. Whispering on the phone when I walked into the room, closing her laptop a little too fast like she was hiding state secrets. Even our daughter Jade, who's 20 now, would give me these knowing smiles and say stuff like, "Dad, you're gonna freak out when you see what we've got planned for the big 5-0. And Griffin, our 23-year-old son, usually couldn't care less about family events, but even he was acting suspicious, dropping vague little comments like he was in on something big. I'll admit it, I got my hopes up. I mean, 50's a milestone, right? I wasn't expecting anything crazy. We're not flashy people. We live comfortably, but we're not exactly swimming in extra cash. We've been footing Jade's college tuition, which already eats a good chunk of our savings, and just last month, I helped Griffin with a $4,000 down payment for his first apartment, money I really couldn't afford to hand over, but that's what dads do, right? All the whispers and secrets made me think maybe they were throwing together some surprise party. Sierra kept telling me to stop asking questions and just wait. Even Walter, my father-in-law who only calls when something at his house breaks, rang me up out of the blue last week. He wanted to know what day I was taking off for my birthday. I told him I'd put in for Tuesday, but didn't get approved. So when my birthday actually came, I ended up back on the job site before sunrise. My boss called at 6:15 a.m. saying there was an emergency at the Riverside project, something about a busted water main and failing equipment. Guess who always gets called in to fix that stuff? I called Sierra from the car, let her know I'd be late but would be home in time for dinner. Her voice sounded off. Distracted. She just said, "That works out fine," and hung up before I could even ask what she meant. That whole day, I kept my head down at work. Didn't tell anyone it was my birthday. I'm not that guy. I figured the real celebration was waiting at home. On the way back, I swung by the store and picked up a bottle of top-shelf whiskey, told myself I'd earned it. I pulled into the driveway right at 5:53 p.m. No cars parked out front, so much for a surprise party. The house looked completely dark. Strange, sure, but I figured maybe they were hiding, waiting to yell, "Surprise," when I walked in. Instead, the place was empty. Not a streamer in sight. No cake. No candles. No dinner. No family. Just me and the cold hum of an empty house. I checked my phone. Nothing. No calls. No texts. I tried calling Sierra, straight to voicemail. Called Griffin, same thing. Texted Jade, no reply. By 7:30 that evening, I was still sitting alone at the kitchen table, staring at that unopened whiskey bottle, wondering if maybe something had gone horribly wrong. I even called the local hospital. Nothing. Tried Taryn, Sierra's sister. No answer there either. At 8:14, still no word. Still alone. I cracked the seal on that bottle, poured myself a glass, and tried to make sense of the silence. And then, I made the mistake of opening Instagram. I don't post much. I mostly just follow the kids to keep up with what they're doing. And right there, clear as day, posted 3 hours earlier, was the truth. A photo of all of them. Sierra. Griffin. Jade. Walter and his wife Marla. Even Taryn. All together, drinks in hand, grinning on a stretch of white sand at some fancy beach resort I didn't even know existed. The caption? Family vacation mode activated. He won't even notice we're gone, lol. He won't even notice. And the comments made it worse. Sierra had responded with a laughing emoji and a "so true." Taryn chimed in with some jab about workaholic husbands not knowing how to enjoy life. Jade hadn't commented, but she was there in the photos, laughing, lounging by the pool, sunglasses on, not a care in the world. I just sat there, scrolling through more and more pictures. Group dinners. Jet ski rides. Poolside selfies. Every single post geotagged to some resort I'd never heard of. And all of them time-stamped. Turns out they'd left 2 days ago. You know that old Fiona Apple song about irony? This was it. All the guilt I'd carried for years about working too much, missing a few school plays, being exhausted on weekends, none of it mattered. I'd spent my life providing. Putting away $500 a month for Jade's college fund since she was born. Dropping thousands on Griffin's apartment while driving a decade-old truck. Paying the mortgage on time every single month. Skipping vacations so they could have more. And now, this. I'm not sure what hit me first, shock, rage, or some strange wave of numb clarity. But I didn't call them. Didn't text. Didn't even leave a comment. I just poured another drink and started thinking. And then I did what I always do when things stop making sense, I checked the numbers. Logged into our bank account and, sure enough, $4,000 had been pulled from our joint savings the Friday before. Same amount I'd just given Griffin. Coincidence? I didn't think so. I went back through old posts and saw Walter had been dropping hints for weeks about a special family getaway. So this wasn't last minute. It wasn't spontaneous. It was mapped out. Coordinated. And done without me. Despite me. Around me. On purpose. By the time midnight hit, I wasn't sad anymore. I was cold. Calculated. And wide awake. I grabbed my laptop and started collecting everything. Screenshots. Bank statements. A full breakdown of every lie, every clue I missed, every moment they made me believe something wonderful was coming. Because here's the thing about the quiet guy, the one who always shows up and never causes trouble. We notice everything. We just don't say it. But when we finally do, we don't forget. We don't forgive easy. And we damn sure don't go back to pretending everything's fine. Or at least, we used to share passwords. I found the credit card while digging through her email, one I had no clue even existed. And the balance on it? Over 13 grand in debt, quietly stacking up over the past 3 years. Designer brands I never saw her wear. Spa packages. And lunches with Taryn that somehow came out to over $200 a pop. Must have been some damn good salads. And right there at the bottom of the statement, fresh charges from that beach resort they were currently enjoying without me. Almost $6,000. That one hit me. Now, I'm not the kind of guy who gets emotional easily. But I'll admit it, I felt something sharp behind my eyes. Not sadness. Anger. The kind that builds when you realize you've become invisible in your own life. Like I'd just been funding a life I wasn't even part of. The sun came up, and my phone still hadn't buzzed. No, happy birthday. No, hey, are you okay? Just more smiling vacation snapshots and a video of Griffin, arm around Walter, singing karaoke like life couldn't be better. The caption? Dad would hate this lol. They weren't just gone, they were celebrating being gone. I got in the shower, went to work, came home. Checked their feeds again. Day 2 of Paradise was in full swing. Sierra's friends were gushing in the comments, asking how the resort was treating them. Her reply? Heaven. So nice to get away from real life for a while. Real life. That's me. The one paying bills. The one fixing broken faucets. The one she needed a break from. I poured myself another whiskey and started making moves. At exactly 9 a.m., second day of their little escape, I called the bank and rerouted my paycheck into a brand new account. Then I hit up my buddy Mason, the one who came out the other side of a brutal divorce, and asked him for his lawyer's contact. After that, I started hauling Sierra's stuff into the guest bedroom. It wasn't an impulsive reaction. I wasn't just being petty. I was calculating. Like when you find out there's termites eating through your foundation, you don't slap on some paint and hope it holds. You rip open the walls and see how bad the damage really is. Then you figure out if the place can even be saved. On the third day of their trip, second day after they forgot my birthday, I finally got a text. It was from Jade. Hey Dad, how's it going? Like she hadn't just spent the last 3 days sipping poolside cocktails while I sat home wondering if I'd been in a car crash they forgot to check on. Like none of it happened. Like everything was totally normal. I didn't respond. An hour later, Griffin texted too. Wanted to know if his laptop charger was still in his old room. Not a single mention of the vacation. Not a word about my birthday. Just, like he'd left a pair of socks behind. I didn't respond to that either. By the time evening rolled around, they started to catch on. Sierra texted, asking if something was wrong. Jade called me twice. Griffin sent this half-worried, half-annoyed message, Mom's kinda freaking out. Can you just text her back? Still, I said nothing. Instead, I posted a photo. First one in months. Just me, sitting at the kitchen table with a sad little grocery store birthday cake in front of me. No caption. No tags. Just the date. And that was the crack that broke the dam. At 9:44 p.m. sharp, my WhatsApp started going off like fireworks. One message, then 5, then a flood. Sierra going full panic. Griffin actually sounding worried for once. Jade sending voice notes that started off chipper and turned shaky real fast. By midnight, I'd counted 47 messages. Across every platform. Texts. WhatsApp. Instagram DMs. Even a damn email. The last one from Sierra just said, "We're coming home tomorrow. Please be there. We need to talk." Oh, we'd talk. But not before I made one final stop the next morning, to pick up a new deadbolt and door locks. Because sometimes, when people take you for granted long enough, the lesson needs to leave a mark. Not one written in sand. Update 1. First off, I didn't expect the tidal wave of support after that post. Thousands of people chiming in, some saying I'd been a doormat, others telling me to burn the whole house down. I appreciate the passion. But that's not my style. I don't blow things up, I let them cook. I'm a slow burn guy. Always have been. Back to those 47 messages. The first one came at 9:44 p.m. on the third night of their beach getaway. Just a soft knock, "Elliot, are you there?" from Sierra. By message 47, it had turned into, "Please, just say something. I'm freaking out. I've been married 25 years. In all that time, I've never intentionally ignored Sierra when she needed me. Even in our worst fights, I'd still answer her calls. Always. But this time? This time was different. I didn't sleep that night. Just sat on the back deck in the dark, watching those messages come in one after another. Scrolling through their photos at the same time. The contrast was something else. Sierra, begging me to respond, while her profile still showed her smiling wide at a beachfront restaurant 2 hours earlier. Griffin, asking if I was okay while his latest post had him grinning on a jet ski. Jade, sobbing in a voice note, while her last photo had her lounging in a cabana with a frozen drink in hand. By 5 a.m., I gave up trying to rest. Made a pot of coffee and got to work. I started collecting everything, screenshots of their posts, copies of text threads, bank statements. Printed it all out. Put it in a folder. Sounds extreme, maybe, but it helped. It made everything real. Tangible. It gave me a direction. The new locks I bought were still sitting in their packaging on the kitchen counter. I hadn't decided if I'd actually install them. Part of me wasn't sure if I was ready to cross that line. At 7:15 a.m., my phone rang. Walter. First time he'd reached out since this all started. I let it go to voicemail. His message started calm, but by the end, he was accusing me of being childish. Classic Walter. The man's always thought I wasn't enough for his daughter. Spent years dropping not-so-subtle jabs about our modest house or the boring car I drive, like having money was the only measure of a good husband. I ignored him. Got dressed. Went to work. Business as usual. But the messages kept coming. Griffin, Dad, seriously, this isn't funny. Mom's having a meltdown. Jade, Daddy, please just say something so we know you're okay. Sierra, Elliot. I called the neighbors, they say your truck's in the driveway. Why aren't you answering? Taryn, of course, had to get a shot in. Hey Elliot, we're all really worried. Whatever this is, it's not the way to handle things. Grow up. That last one almost got me. Almost made me reply. But then I remembered the comment she left under Griffin's vacation post, the one where she made fun of workaholic husbands, and I stayed quiet. That night, I built my wall. Financially speaking. I called the credit card companies and stripped Sierra's name off my accounts. Logged into our mortgage account and redirected the next payment from my new solo account. Updated my direct deposit info at work. And then I went full accountant. Made a spreadsheet. Broke down every expense from the past 10 years. Percentages, categories, everything. Who paid what? Who carried the load? And what I found was brutal. 82% of our joint expenses? Covered by me. 94%. That's how much of our retirement savings came from me. And the kids' college funds? Every last cent, 100%, also me. So what did Sierra actually put into this so-called partnership? I went through the joint account records, line by line. Most of her deposits didn't even sit in the account long enough to get comfortable. Out they went for salon visits, overpriced lunches with Taryn, boutique clothes, and what she always called house stuff. You know, like throw pillows no one could actually throw and candles that cost more than a dinner out. Maybe I sound bitter. Hell, maybe I am. But when you spend 25 years walking around with this quiet guilt for working too much, only to realize it was your work that made everyone else's fun possible, it hits different. And right around midnight, I found the thing that broke me. A text thread. 2 weeks old. Between Sierra and Taryn. Sierra, should we even tell Elliot about the trip? Taryn, why bother? He'll just complain about the cost. Sierra, true LOL. It's not like he ever pays attention to anything but work anyway. Taryn, he probably won't even notice until the weekend. Sierra, if that soon. That was it. That was the moment something inside me locked up. Up until then, I'd been holding on to this faint little hope. That maybe there'd been some awful miscommunication. A mix-up. Something. But that text. That was a nail in the coffin. Not just of my birthday, but of the version of my marriage I thought was real. By the 4th day of their beach vacation, their messages took on a new tone, anger. Griffin, Dad, WTF. Mom's been crying all night. What's your problem? Sierra, I don't know what game you're playing, but this is cruel, Elliot. Walter jumped in too, you're proving exactly what I've always thought about you, selfish and immature. Then, on day 5, the panic set in. I guess they realized I wasn't bluffing. Sierra, we're cutting the trip short. Flying home tomorrow. Please be there. Jade, Dad. I'm scared. Did something happen to you? Griffin, if you're doing this on purpose, it's seriously messed up. I still didn't respond. But I did start getting ready for their return. Moved Sierra's stuff into the guest room. Changed the Wi-Fi password. Put a lock on my computer. All small things, but each one a message. You can't just waltz back in like nothing happened. That night, Jade left me a voice message that cracked a little piece of me. She was crying, her voice all shaky and raw. She said she was sorry for forgetting my birthday. That she wanted to call me, but Grandma Marla told her it would ruin the surprise. That she felt off about the whole thing but got talked into thinking she was overreacting. She said Walter paid for most of the trip, calling it a family bonding experience. I almost picked up the phone and called her. Almost. But then I pictured her in those photos. Laughing. Relaxed. Not a trace of guilt on her face. Just another 20-year-old adult making her own choices. The morning they were set to come back, I finally installed the new deadbolt. Not to lock them out forever, I'm not that vindictive. But I needed them to ring the bell. To knock. To face me. To stand at the threshold and acknowledge what they did before acting like we were just picking up where we left off. I took the day off work. Just waited. At 2:47 p.m., I got a text from Sierra, just landed. At 4:32, I heard the Uber in the driveway. Voices. Luggage wheels scraping across the concrete. Then quiet. Probably the exact second they realized their keys didn't work anymore. The doorbell rang. I didn't rush. Took my time. When I finally opened the door, I found them all there like a scene from a bad sitcom. Sunburned. Worn out. Trying to pretend this wasn't what it was. Sierra stood in front, holding some gift bag that definitely wasn't in their original luggage. Griffin wouldn't meet my eyes. Jade looked like she was seconds from falling apart. Walter and Marla stood behind them like disappointed chaperones. I just stood there. Blocking the doorway. Saying nothing. Sierra jumped in first, talking fast, like if she got all the words out quick enough, they'd somehow make sense. Said they were worried. That they'd called hospitals. That they left the resort early because they were so concerned about me. Then she tried to pivot, said the trip was supposed to be a pre-birthday surprise. Said things just got complicated. That they planned to celebrate when they got back. I didn't respond. Just pulled out my phone, opened Instagram, and held up the post with Griffin's caption, "He won't even notice we're gone lol." The silence that followed? Honestly, it was kind of perfect. Griffin stared at the ground like it might open up and swallow him. Jade started crying for real. Sierra tried to snatch my phone, but I stepped back before she could reach it. Walter stepped forward, puffed up like always, saying this was ridiculous and we needed to talk like grown-ups. That's when I finally spoke. Told him he wasn't welcome in my house, not today. He could drop the bags and go. You'd think I slapped him. His mouth opened, but nothing came out. First time in probably his whole life someone told him flat out, no. He stood there sputtering, eyes wide like I'd just taken away his remote control. Marla tried to smooth it over, saying they were all exhausted and maybe we could talk tomorrow. I told her tomorrow sounded fine, for them. But not for Walter. Not ever. Eventually, they left. I let Sierra, Griffin, and Jade inside. And the house felt different. Smaller. Tighter. Like it was holding its breath. Sierra noticed her stuff missing from our bedroom immediately. Demanded to know what I'd done. So I brought out the folder. Laid everything out on the kitchen table, screenshots, bank statements, the spreadsheet. And I asked one question. Just one. When exactly did I become this, disposable to you? Sierra started deflecting, called me dramatic. Said it was just a vacation. That the plan was always to celebrate my birthday after they got home. I slid the printed texts between her and Taryn across the table. Watched the color drain from her face. Griffin tried to laugh off his Instagram caption. Said it was just a joke. Social media exaggeration, you know? I reminded him of his own comments over the past year. The digs. The sarcasm. The way he painted me as some out-of-touch, boring dad. He went quiet. Jade just cried. But in the middle of the tears, she let something slip, that this trip had been in the works for months. That originally, I was supposed to be part of it. Until Walter decided it should be a family reset. Without my negative energy. By 7 p.m., the truth was sitting in the room with us, raw and ugly. They hadn't just excluded me. They'd rewritten who I was in their minds. Turned me into this invisible background character. Elliot, the provider. Elliot, the guy who missed things because of work. Elliot, the one you could leave behind without it really mattering. And the worst part? Deep down, they thought I wouldn't notice. Or worse, that I wouldn't care. And the thing that cut deepest? They weren't completely wrong. I had let work take over. I had missed dinners. Games. Movie nights. Moments. I thought I was doing the right thing. Being a good provider. But I guess while I was out there building a life for us, they started building one that didn't need me in it. I'd spent years being quiet when I should have spoken up. But not anymore. I told them flat out, I'd moved most of our money into a new account. I'd cover the mortgage and bills for the next 3 months while Sierra figured out what came next. Jade's college? I'd still support her, but directly, no more funneling money through a family that treated me like I was optional. I gave them 3 months. That's how long they had to either rebuild this marriage from the ground up, or start preparing for the end of it. Griffin blew up, said I was being unfair, and stormed out. Jade ran off to her room, crying. Sierra just sat there, stunned, staring at all the proof laid out on the table like someone had just told her magic wasn't real. Around midnight, she texted me one last time, I never meant for any of this to happen. The trip was supposed to be your gift, a break. Something special when we got back. I don't know how it got so twisted. I read it 3 times. And each time, I felt the same thing, disbelief. Even now, even after everything, she was still trying to spin it. Still pretending it was all just a big misunderstanding. So I responded, I've got the receipts, Sierra. All 47 of them. And probably 100 more you don't even know about. The time for lies is over. Then I turned off my phone and slept in my own bed. Alone. But not lonely. There's a difference. Tomorrow would bring some hard conversations, and maybe even harder choices, but for the first time in 25 years, they'd be my choices. The next morning, I woke up at 4:17 a.m. to the sound of crying. Took me a second to realize it was Sierra, alone in the guest room. And the strange thing? I didn't feel much of anything. Not anger. Not pity. Just, nothing. It's been 2 weeks since they got back. 2 weeks of awkward silences over breakfast, whispered phone calls behind closed doors, and a house filled with tension so thick it settled into the walls. I expected some dramatic apology when they came home, some big moment of remorse. But instead, Sierra came downstairs that first morning like it was any other day. Made her coffee. Looked at me and asked, got it out of your system yet? Like this was all some tantrum I'd thrown. I didn't answer. Just slid my phone across the counter, opened to the screenshots, her messages with Taryn, the ones where they laughed at the idea that I'd even noticed they were gone. She stared at them like she'd never seen them before, then tried a new excuse, said her phone must have been hacked. That someone else wrote those things. That was the moment I knew she'd rather invent a ridiculous story than admit what she did. So I handed her the bank statement. Showed her every charge from the trip. Pulled up the credit card records from her secret account. I laid it all out, how I'd been holding up this family for decades while she quietly racked up $13,000 in debt. And the wildest part? She barely blinked at the money. Said Walter would help pay it off. Said I was being petty, focusing on bank statements instead of owning my workaholic tendencies. That's rich. I was the bad guy now, for working myself into the ground to fund her lifestyle. The kids? They reacted differently. Griffin rolled in around noon that day, still hungover, immediately on the defensive. Called me toxic. Claimed I was blowing everything out of proportion over a stupid post. So I pulled up my own social feed. Showed him the comments from his friends. The ones that mocked me. Treated me like a punchline. I asked him, what kind of man mocks his dad to look cool online? What kind of son takes $4,000 from me, then blows that same amount partying on a beach 2 weeks later? He didn't have much to say after that. Just mumbled something about how I don't get how social media works, and left. Hasn't been back since. Jade was different. She actually apologized. Said she'd felt pressure from Marla and Walter. Said she wanted to call me on my birthday but Sierra told her I'd probably be too busy anyway. I believe her, for the most part. But I also saw her smiling in those beach pictures. Sipping cocktails at sunset, not looking the least bit conflicted. So yeah, I'm still paying her tuition. But the checks go straight to the college now. Not through the black hole that is our joint account. A few days after their return, things got worse. Walter showed up at our door uninvited, just as I was heating up leftovers. He walked right in, because Sierra had given him the new door code, and immediately started lecturing me. Told me I was being unreasonable. That I was blowing up the family over a misunderstanding. I stayed calm. Asked him how much the resort cost. He puffed up, said it didn't matter. I asked again. He finally answered, $8,600. 5 people. 5 days. Over $300 per person per day. I've never spent that kind of money on a vacation in my life. Our family trips were budget weekends, camping, road trips, maybe a cheap motel with a pool if we were feeling fancy. So I asked Walter if he knew how much I had saved for Jade's education. He didn't answer. I told him, $25,000. Saved up, $500 at a time. That money could have gone to new cars, house repairs, vacations I never took. But I put it aside for my daughter's future. Then I asked him what he'd contributed to his granddaughter's education. His face turned beet red. He started stammering something about how that wasn't the point. How he created opportunities for the family in other ways. Yeah. Like teaching them that loyalty and respect can be traded in for cocktails and sunshine. That was the end of that conversation. Walter thought he was offering life lessons, showing them it was fine to leave behind the one footing the bill. Teaching them that respect and loyalty could be traded in for tropical drinks and beachfront selfies. I told him he had 30 seconds to get out of my house or I was calling the cops. He left. Exactly 6:27 p.m. Haven't heard from him since. Sierra exploded afterward. Said I was cruel for speaking to her father like that. Accused me of being jealous, that the real issue wasn't the trip, but that I couldn't give them the kind of memories Walter could. And maybe? There's a sliver of truth in that. I've never had Walter money. But I had something else, Walter time. 25 years of it. Years spent working to build a life for my family while he lounged in early retirement, burning through inherited wealth. By the end of that first week, the lines had been drawn. Sierra packed a bag and moved in with Taryn. Griffin stopped replying to my texts. Jade started showing up more often, usually when Sierra wasn't around. The whole family split into camps. Her relatives circled the wagons, posting vague little, family over everything messages online. My sister, 3 states away, sent me a bottle of whiskey and a note saying she always figured Sierra was a bit of a princess. Then reality knocked. 10 days after they got back, Sierra called in a panic. Her credit card had been declined. I'd removed her as an authorized user across the board. She asked if I planned to keep punishing her by cutting her off. I told her calmly, like explaining to a kid, this wasn't punishment, it was separation. Her income was hers. Mine was mine. The joint account held exactly 3 months' worth of mortgage and utility money. After that? Either we had new terms or separate lives. That's when she finally cried. But not for me. Not for the marriage. Not for the kids. She cried over money. That night, at 11:43 p.m., Walter texted me 4 words, let's discuss a settlement. I didn't reply. There was nothing to settle yet. No divorce papers. No attorneys, though I'd already talked to 3. Just a broken family trying to keep floating on a raft I'd been patching for decades. 2 weeks into this new normal, something happened I didn't expect. Griffin showed up at the house one Tuesday morning. Looked like he hadn't slept. Same clothes as yesterday. Red eyes. He wasn't here to say sorry. Not exactly. Looked more like someone who'd finally done the math. His new apartment, the one I'd helped him get into, was bleeding him dry. He'd underestimated everything. Groceries. Internet. Bills. Life. That beach trip had cost him more than he thought too. Turns out, future me will figure it out, wasn't a great financial strategy. Now he was drowning. Part of me wanted to let him. Just let it sting. But the dad in me couldn't do it. So I made him breakfast. Walked him through a basic budget. Showed him how to track spending. Explained how money doesn't just magically appear like it used to at home. By lunchtime, he was quiet. Not sulky, just humbled. Like maybe he was seeing, for the first time, that boring old dad had been keeping the lights on and the fridge full all along. He didn't say sorry. But he did something better. He deleted every social media app off his phone. Right there at the kitchen table. Said he needed to clear his head and figure out who he was without all the noise. Then he asked if he could start coming over on Sundays so I could help him figure out this adult shit. That felt like progress. Sierra, meanwhile, took a different path. Once the dust settled, she slipped straight into spin mode. Started calling friends, painting her version of the story. Posted one of those vague, self-pitying Facebook updates about navigating life's unexpected twists. Made it sound like I'd snapped. Taryn, of course, became her megaphone. Telling anyone who'd listen I was having a midlife crisis. That I was financially abusive. That the vacation had been meant as a gift, not a betrayal. I haven't wasted breath correcting any of it. The people who know me, really know me, saw the truth on day one. The rest? Not worth the energy. Jade's been caught in the crossfire. Guilty for going. Guilty for wanting to stay close to me. Guilty for being mad at her mom. Guilt from every angle. I've tried to make it clear, she doesn't have to pick a side. I'm her dad. That doesn't change, no matter what happens between me and Sierra. Her college tuition is still covered. Her future's still secure. 3 weeks after it all came crashing down, Sierra finally came by for a real conversation. We sat across from each other at the kitchen counter, the same one we'd shared morning coffee at for 20 years. She asked if I was really doing this. If I was really going to throw away our marriage over one mistake. I didn't answer right away. Just pulled out my phone. Opened the folder. Showed her the 47 messages. Then I asked her, which one acknowledged it was my birthday? Which one apologized for leaving me behind? Which one showed even a flicker of genuine care before the panic set in? She couldn't name a single one. Then I finally asked the question that had been eating me alive for weeks. When did I stop mattering to you? I asked. When did I become someone you could just leave out like I wouldn't notice? Like I wouldn't feel it? And what she said next, well, it landed different. She told me it hadn't happened all at once. That for years, maybe even a decade, she felt like we were living in separate worlds under the same roof. Like I was there, but not really there. She said she tried to connect, but I was always at work. Always tired. Always focused on providing instead of being present. And after a while, she just stopped trying. Built a version of life that didn't need me to be part of it. And you know what? That one cut deep. Because she wasn't entirely wrong. There were times I put work first. Times I missed things. I'd come home too worn down to talk, to laugh, to go out. There were missed dinners. Missed weekends. Missed moments. But I also showed up in the ways I knew how. I coached Griffin's Little League team. Helped Jade build her science fair volcano. I was the one mowing the lawn every weekend, fixing the roof leaks, replacing worn-out tires. Keeping the cars running and the lights on. I never once missed a mortgage payment. I showed up. Just, maybe not in the ways Sierra needed. Or not often enough. We talked for hours that day. And not surface-level stuff, real talk. The kind that gets uncomfortable. The kind that makes you stare your marriage in the face and ask what the hell happened. We dug into the expectations that got lost along the way, the things we never said out loud, and all the little cracks that turned into a canyon between us. By midnight, she asked me the question I think we both knew was coming. Was there still a chance? Could I forgive her, for the trip, the secrecy, the card, the years of silence that led to this moment? I told her the truth. I didn't know. Maybe forgiveness was possible. But forgetting? That wasn't. Not now. Maybe not ever. I told her that broken trust doesn't grow back clean, it leaves scar tissue. Even when it heals, the skin never feels the same. The next day, she packed up the rest of her things and moved into Taryn's place. Told me she needed space to figure out who she is without me. Whatever that means. And now here I am. 1 month out from the day everything changed, my 50th birthday. 1 month since I came home to an empty house and found out just how easy it was for the people I loved most to move on without me. Some days, I'm angry. Other days, I'm just worn out. But most days, I'm okay. Not great. Not broken. Just, fine. And honestly, for now, that's enough.